On the far edge of the galaxy, there was a peaceful human colony called New Terra. The sun was warm, the sky was blue, and life was calm. Children laughed and played in open fields. People worked in farms, shared meals, and dreamed of Earth. For years, they had no trouble. They believed the galaxy was quiet. They believed they were safe. But safety is an illusion. One bright morning, a strange noise filled the air. It was not thunder. It was deeper, stronger. The ground shook. People looked up. A black shadow moved across the sky like a giant hand covering the sun. Mothers called their children. Men grabbed tools, thinking maybe a storm was coming. Then, the ships appeared. Huge black machines broke through the clouds. They were shaped like beasts, part metal, part monster. They had claws, wings, and glowing red eyes. From their bellies, they dropped creatures that stood twice the height of a mai. Man, these were the war beasts. They were bred for only one thing: destruction. Screams filled the air. Buildings exploded. The colony was not ready. People tried to run, but the war beasts were too fast. They crushed everything in their path. Fire swallowed homes. The sky turned orange with smoke. In just minutes, the beautiful world became a nightmare. A young boy named Leo hid under the floor of his house. He watched through a crack as his parents were taken. His mother fought. His father yelled. But the beasts were stronger. Leo did not cry. His eyes were wide, cold. He held a small wooden toy soldier in his hand, something his father gave him. The toy was shaking, so was Leo. All across human space, the story was the same. One colony after another fell. Some sent out messages. "Help us. Anyone. Please respond." But many signals went silent before they could even finish. It looked like the end of human expansion in the galaxy. The war beasts were too strong. Too many, too fast. But not all humans were farmers and builders. Some were something else. On a dark station, hidden in deep space, a woman watched the news feeds from the invaded colonies. Her face had no emotion. Her eyes were sharp, like knives. She turned to the man next to her and said, "Activate the Black Division." The man nodded. All around the galaxy, secret humans woke up. They were not part of any colony. They were trained in the dark, raised in pain, taught to survive anything. They were not soldiers. They were hunters. Each one had a name, a number, and a mission. They didn't ask questions. They didn't cry. They only moved. In a cold, silent room, one of them looked at a photo, a picture of New Terra before the fire. He remembered the smell of the wind, the sound of water, the peace. He burned the photo in his hand and whispered, "You chose the wrong species to attack." The Black Division was coming. The war beasts believed they had won. They believed humans were weak. They thought the battle was over. But they forgot something important. They forgot what humans become when you take everything from them. Humans fight back, not to survive, not just to win, but to remember, to make the enemy remember. And when humans fight like that, there is no mercy. Somewhere, in a secret place, a new message was sent. It wasn't a call for help. It wasn't a surrender. It said only this: "You came for a war. Now you'll get one." The fire had started. But this time it would not burn human worlds. It would burn theirs. And little Leo, hiding under the floor, would grow up to become something even the war beast would fear. Because humanity had something far more terrifying than any beast. It had nothing left to lose. The war beasts thought they had won. Colony after colony had fallen. Humans were running, hiding, crying. The war beast generals celebrated in their command ships, laughing in deep, growling voices. "Weak creatures," one of them said. "They break so easily." But far from the battlefield, in the darkest corners of space, something was waking up: the Black Division. They were not part of any army. They wore no flags. Their names were not in books. Their missions were never spoken about. Most humans didn't even know they existed. But now, after the war beast destroyed the human colonies, the Black Division was activated. Each member of the division was trained since childhood. They were taken from war zones, from broken homes, from the streets of Earth and Mars. They were not raised with kindness. They were raised with fire, pain, and survival. They were taught how to move without sound, how to kill without mercy, and how to disappear like smoke. One of them, known only as Raven, stood inside a dark training room. Her face had no smile, her hands were scarred. She loaded her rifle slowly, calmly. A screen in front of her showed images of the attacked colonies, New Terra, burned fields, destroyed homes. She stared for a long time. Then she said, "They think we're soft. Let's show them what we really are." Across the galaxy, other Black Division members got the call. A man named Ghost was deep inside a mining station. He didn't speak for 5 years. But now, when he saw the call, he whispered just 2 words. About time. A woman called Blade was in a forest world. She had been hunting alone for months. Her eyes were cold. When her screen lit up with the order, she smiled for the first time in years. The Black Division had one mission: strike back, not to defend, not to protect, but to remind the galaxy who humans really were. Their first target was a war beast outpost on the edge of a dead moon. The beast used it as a supply base. They felt safe there. No guards outside, no alarm systems. They thought no one would dare to attack them. That night, the Black Division arrived. They didn't come in ships with loud engines. They came in silence. Small dropships, painted black, slipped through the shadows. No one saw them. No one heard them, until it was too late. Raven moved through the shadows like a ghost. She placed a small device on the wall. It blinked once, green. Then it disappeared. Blade used her long knife to cut through armor silently. One by one, the war beasts inside the outpost fell. No screams, no sounds, just silence and blood. When the war beasts finally noticed something was wrong, half their base was already gone. Doors were locked, lights were out. And on the main wall, written in fire, were the words, "We remember." Panic spread through the war beast command. This wasn't a normal attack. This was something else. Something colder, smarter, more dangerous. 1. War beast captain shouted, "What are they?" A single human voice answered from the darkness. "We are what you made us." Then the outpost exploded. The Black Division left no bodies, no survivors, no signs. Only fear. News of the attack spread fast. The war beasts called a special meeting. Their leader, General Krog, slammed his fist on the table. "Who are these humans? Why are they not afraid?" A scout showed blurry video, shadows moving, fast and silent, cutting through war beasts like they were nothing. The general growled, "Find them. Kill them." But it was too late. The Black Division had already moved to their next target. And the one after that. This was not war. This was revenge. And now every war beast commander slept with one eye open. Because the humans were not coming with armies. They were coming one by one. From the dark. With fire in their hearts. The war. Beasts had unleashed something they could not control. Something terrifying. Human rage. And it had only just begun. The war beasts had ruled many worlds. They were strong, fast, and built for war. Until now, they had never lost a battle. But something was changing. Fear was growing. It started small, a few whispers, a few missing soldiers. But after the outpost, on the dead moon was destroyed, fear became real. The Black Division was moving. They didn't fight like soldiers. They didn't follow rules. They came from the dark, killed with silence, and vanished like smoke. The war beasts were not used to this. They were trained to crush, not to chase ghosts. On a cold planet with red snow, a war beast base stood inside a mountain. It was full of weapons, fuel, and battle plans. A large beast named Captain Gorak stood at the entrance. He looked around and said, "No human can get in here. This place is safe." But he was wrong. That night, the wind howled louder than usual. Inside the mountain base, the lights flickered. Soldiers checked their scanners. Nothing showed up. But something was there. A single drop of water fell from the ceiling. Then another. Then the lights went out. Suddenly, a scream echoed through the halls. Then silence. Captain Gorak ran toward the sound, but he found nothing, just a message written on the wall in red paint. "We're already inside." The war beasts tried to lock the doors. They shouted orders. But the Black Division had already cut the power. Doors didn't work. Cameras were dead. And the division moved fast. Raven and Ghost led the team. Raven used a silent dart gun. Ghost used only a knife. Blade moved through vents like a shadow. They took out every key officer one by one. The war beasts fought back, but they were confused. They were scared. They shot at shadows. They hit nothing. Captain Gorak found himself alone in the control room, heavy breathing, hands shaking. He picked up his radio. "Help! Send help!" But a voice replied, calm, cold. "No one is coming." He turned around. Raven was standing, there, her eyes sharp, her rifle aimed. The last thing he saw was her silent nod. Then everything went dark. When the war beasts sent a ship to check the base 2 days later, they found it empty. No soldiers, no supplies, just fire marks and a message carved into the wall. "You started this. We'll finish it." This was the third base lost in 1 week. The war beasts couldn't understand it. They had numbers, they had weapons, but they were losing. Not because the humans were stronger, but because they were smarter and angry. General Krog watched the reports with burning eyes. "Enough," he growled. "No more hiding. We hunt them down." He called in his best spy, a cold and silent creature named Varnak. Varnak was trained to track anyone. He could smell fear, hear lies, and see in the dark. "Find the Black Division," Krog said. "Find them and destroy them." Varnak bowed. "It will be done." But while the war beasts planned their hunt, the Black Division had already moved. Again. This time they targeted a shipyard, a floating factory in space that built war beast battle cruisers. The shipyard was protected by metal walls, force fields, and hundreds of guards. The division didn't care. They came in through the trash system. They hid inside metal containers, silent as death. When the containers opened, they attacked. In 5 minutes, the main control room was taken. In 10 minutes, the fuel lines were burning. Explosions lit up the sky. War beast ships floated in flames. The Black Division left the shipyard just as it broke apart. Once again, they left a message. "Behind, we don't run. We don't hide. We fight." Now the war beasts started to doubt themselves. For the first time, they felt weak. They didn't understand how these few humans were doing so much damage. One young war beast soldier asked his captain, "Why don't they fear us?" The captain didn't answer, because he didn't know. But the humans knew. They were not fighting for glory. They were not fighting for land. They were fighting for every burned home, every lost family, every scream that went unheard. They were fighting because they remembered, and the galaxy was starting to remember too. Something was changing. The hunters had become the hunted, and the Black Division had only just begun. The war beasts were angry. They had lost 3 bases and 1 shipyard in just a few weeks. These were not small losses. They were strongholds full of weapons and warriors. But the Black Division had destroyed them all, with just a few humans. General Krog stood in front of his war council. His fists were clenched, his teeth bared. He slammed his claws into the metal table and roared, "Enough!" The room went silent. "These humans are not soldiers. They are shadows," one of the beast commanders said. "Then we will light up." "Every shadow," Krog growled. "We will find them. We will break them. I want their names, their faces, their hiding places. Burn their ghosts into the stars." He turned to Varnak, the best tracker in the war beast empire. "You failed to stop them at the shipyard." Varnak did not blink. His voice was calm. "They do not move like an army. They move like animals. Smart ones, angry ones, they leave no trail. But I will find them. Krog leaned in. Do it. So Varnak began the hunt. He used every tool, drones, spies, listening devices. He followed whispers. He listened to the wind on broken worlds. Slowly, he started to see patterns. The Black Division didn't attack randomly. Every strike had a reason, a message. While Varnak searched, fear spread through the war beast ranks. Soldiers began refusing missions near human territory. They asked for more guards. Some started sleeping in groups. One even refused to leave his room. He was found dead the next morning. On the wall beside him, written in his own blood, were 2 words. They're coming. Krog was furious. They are just humans, soft flesh and weak bones. Why are you afraid? But deep inside, even Krog felt something he did not like. Fear. Because this was not a war anymore. This was something else. It was personal. Meanwhile, the Black Division planned their next strike. It wasn't a base or a ship. It was a War Beast Council meeting, the place where their top leaders gathered. No human had ever seen it. But now, the division wanted to send a message straight to the heart of the enemy. Raven led the mission. She studied blueprints for days. They think we won't dare, she said. Let's surprise them. They arrived during the meeting. High above the War Beast capital, in a sky fortress guarded by hundreds of soldiers. The division came in with stolen access codes, disguised as War Beast engineers. Blade spoke their language perfectly. Ghost carried a pulse bomb in his coat. At exactly 2 more hours, the lights went out. Screams followed. When the backup lights came on, the War Beast Council chamber was in chaos. Guards were down, commanders were wounded, and in the center of the room was a black box. Inside the box, a recording played. It was a human voice, clear and cold. You burned our homes. You stole our peace. Now you meet the part of humanity you never studied, our rage. Then the box exploded, not with fire but with sound, a loud pulse that knocked every war beast in the room to the ground. When they woke up, painted on the ceiling in red were the words, "Boo." The war beast had never been humiliated like this. That night, even the strongest commanders could not sleep. They're not human, one whispered. They're something else. But they were wrong. The Black Division was human. That's what made them terrifying, because they could feel pain, and they remembered it, because they had lost everything, and had nothing left to lose, because they were not fighting for land or power. They were fighting to make sure no war beast ever slept well again. And deep in a dark room, Varnak finally found something. A pattern. A whisper. A face. A young man, with a scar under his eye. Varnak smiled. I have one. The hunt had truly begun. But the Black Division was already watching. They saw Varnak before he saw them, and they smiled too, because the war beasts had finally stepped into the real game. Now, both sides were hunting, but only one could survive. Varnak had a face now. He had studied hundreds of images, listened to thousands of recordings. Most of them were dead ends. But one small photo caught his eye, a young human boy with a scar under his right eye. The image came from a broken home. On New Terra, one of the first colonies destroyed. The boy was believed to be missing, but Varnak knew better. He survived, he said to himself. He joined them. He showed the photo to General Krog. This is your ghost? Krog laughed. He's just a child. He's not a child anymore, Varnak replied. He's the reason this war has turned into a nightmare. That boy had grown up. His name was Leo. He had watched his family die. He had escaped the fire. And the Black Division had found him, trained him, shaped him. Now he was one of their deadliest hunters. Varnak wanted him. Meanwhile, Leo stood inside a small ship in deep space. He looked at the stars, quiet and still. He held a photo of his parents, burned, faded. He didn't speak. He just stared. Then Raven walked in. They know about you now, she said. Leo nodded. Let them come. Ghost loaded his weapon. He means it. Raven opened a map. We're hitting their fuel line next. It powers 5 battle fleets. We hit it hard, we slow them down. Leo asked, what about the tracker? Varnak? Yeah, he's hunting you, she said. Leo smiled for the first time in years. Good. That night, the Black Division attacked the fuel world. The planet was full of fire towers, machines that pulled energy from the planet's core. Thousands of war beast workers kept the machines running. Ships refueled every hour. The division came in fast, like a storm. Leo led the first team. He moved like fire, fast and deadly. He used no words, just actions. Boom. One fuel tower exploded, then another. Fire lit the sky. The war beasts ran, shouting, confused. Blade took out the control room. Ghost cut power to the ships. Raven planted bombs across the main core. Within 15 minutes, the fuel world was falling, and then came the voice. It echoed from the main tower. Leo, this is for New Terra. He pressed the trigger. The core exploded. The whole sky turned red. From far away, war beast commanders watched their fuel source die. One shouted, "How are they doing this?" But no one had answers. Back on their ship, Raven looked at Leo. You didn't have to speak, she said. I wanted them to know, Leo replied. That I remember. But Varnak had been watching too. He had followed the signals, the patterns, the voice. And now he knew. He entered the ruins of the fuel world hours later. The heat still burned his feet. The air smelled like ash. But he smiled. He was here, Varnak whispered. And now I know where he's going. He turned to his ship. Prepare a trap. Far away, in the deep silence of space, the Black Division gathered again. They had destroyed 7 targets in 30 days. They had become symbols of fear. But Raven knew what was coming. They'll hit back hard now, she said. This isn't surprise anymore. This is war. Leo looked at the stars. Good, he said. Let them come. Ghost grinned. We'll be ready. But none of them knew how close Varnak really was. He had chosen a battlefield, a dead station floating in space. Once a human lab, now a silent tomb. He placed bait there, an old signal from Leo's childhood, something only he would recognize. Voice recording of his mother. My brave boy. Come home. Leo heard it. His hands froze. Raven saw the look in his eyes. It's a trap, she said. I know, Leo whispered. You still want to go? Yes. So the division prepared, not to walk into the trap, but to flip it. They would go. They would face Varnak. And this time they would show the war beasts something new. Not just human rage, but human strategy. Not just pain, but purpose. Because this was no longer about survival. This was the beginning of the end. And in the dark silence of space, both sides waited. The hunters and the hunted. And soon, they would switch places again. The trap was set. The old space station floated like a ghost ship. Cold, broken, forgotten. Long ago, it was a research lab. Now it was silent with cracked walls and dead power lines. But deep inside, a recording still played. Leo's mother's voice. My brave boy. Come home. Leo stood in the Black Division ship staring at the signal. It's bait, Raven said. They know it will pull you in. I know, Leo replied. Ghost checked his weapons. Then let's go pull their teeth out. The team didn't go in blind. They studied the station's layout, found secret ways in, mapped every shadow. Blade marked every possible ambush point. They'll be waiting for us, she said, but we won't come the way they expect. The division split into 2 teams. One went through the cargo dock, the other through the maintenance shafts. Silent, careful, like always. Varnak was already inside, waiting. He stood in the control room, watching every hallway through his motion trackers. Around him were elite war beast hunters, stronger, faster, smarter than the rest. They will come for the boy, Varnak said. Stay hidden, strike fast, do not underestimate them. The plan was simple. Draw in Leo, kill the division, break their spirit, end the terror. But the war beasts had forgotten one thing. Humans learn. And this time, the Black Division came to hunt. Leo entered first, alone. He followed the signal through, dark halls filled with old machines and frozen air. He kept his gun low, his ears sharp. Behind him, Raven and Ghost moved through the shadows. Blade was already deep inside, disabling cameras one by one. Then the signal stopped. Silence. Leo turned a corner and saw her. A hologram. His mother. He froze. Leo. The soft voice whispered, and that's when the attack came. War beasts leapt. From the walls, claws out, fangs open. Leo dove to the floor and fired. 2 went down. The rest were hit by Raven's sniper fire. The real fight had begun. Ghost dropped from above, landing hard on a war beast's back. He drove a blade into its neck. Too slow, he said coldly. Blade appeared from the shadows and threw 2 darts. Both hit. 2 more war beasts dropped, but they just kept coming. The battle spread across the station. Gunfire echoed. Metal groaned. Sparks lit the dark. Varnak moved like a shadow. Fast, silent, deadly. He didn't go after the others. He wanted Leo. He found him in a broken lab room, alone. Leo turned. You finally came, he said. You were hard to find, Varnak replied. You made me easy to become, Leo said, raising his weapon. The fight was brutal. Leo was fast, trained by the best. But Varnak was a monster, built for killing. He slashed, kicked, and roared. Leo blocked, rolled, fired. Both were bleeding. Both refused to fall. You think rage is enough? Varnak growled. We were made for war. So were we, Leo said, and shot him point blank in the eye. Varnak fell back, roaring. Leo ran. The rest of the division was already regrouping. Status? Raven called. 5 down, Blade replied. But more coming. We set the charges? Ready? Good. Time to end this. They moved fast, planting explosives at key points. The station began to shake. Ghost helped Leo limp through the corridor. You alive? Barely. You got him? Not yet. Varnak was still alive, bleeding, angry. He charged through fire and smoke, chasing Leo one last time, but when he reached the final room, he found it empty. Only a blinking light on the floor. A recording. Leo's voice. You thought this was your trap! But we've been hunting you the whole time. Boom. The charges exploded. The control room collapsed. Fire spread through the station. Walls cracked. Floors broke. The Black Division escaped through the cargo hatch seconds before the whole station tore apart in silence. Back on their ship, Leo sat quietly, holding his side. Raven looked at him. That was close. Leo nodded. But he's gone. Maybe. Ghost said. But even if he's not, he knows now. He's not the hunter anymore. They flew into the stars, leaving the fire behind. The war beasts had taken everything from them. But now the Black Division had taken more. Their fear, their control, their pride. And soon, they would take the last thing. Victory. Because the war wasn't over, but it was close. Very close. The war beasts were broken. Their bases had fallen. Their ships were in ruins. Their fuel was gone. And now their best hunter, Varnak, was dead or lost forever in the fire of the old space station. Fear spread through the war beast empire like poison. They had ruled the galaxy for years. They had crushed armies, burned cities, ended planets, but they had never faced anything like the Black Division. General Krog stood in silence in the war chamber. His claws tapped the metal table. His eyes were bloodshot. We are losing. 1, Commander said. No, Krog growled. We have already lost. He looked at the map. dozens of red marks where the division had struck. We pushed them too far, he whispered. Now they are pushing back. He gave one final order. Defend the core. The core world was the heart of the War Beast Empire, a massive planet covered in steel, fire, and machines, their capital, their command center, their last line. If it fell, everything would fall. The Black Division knew this, and they were coming. Raven stood before her team. Leo, Blade, and Ghost were ready. Tired, wounded, but ready. This is it, she said. No more hiding. No more running. We hit the core, Leo said. We finish this. Blade checked her gear. They'll be ready. Let them be, Ghost said. We are too. They moved in 3 ships, silent and fast. Each team had one goal: destroy the command tower, cut off communications, shut down the defense grid. They didn't plan to escape. This was a final strike, a message. The war beasts saw them coming. Hundreds of ships rose to meet them. Fire lit the stars, but the Black Division didn't stop. They broke through the defense wall like a knife. Inside the core world, alarms rang. Troops ran through metal halls, cannons turned, drones flew, and then the lights went out. Blade had already cut the power grid. Ghost moved through the smoke, planting bombs. Raven sniped commanders from rooftops, and Leo ran straight into the heart of the command tower. He fought with everything he had. His body ached. His hands bled, but he did not stop, not for pain, not for fear, not for anything. He reached the control core. General Krog was there, waiting. You again, Krog growled. Leo raised his gun. This ends now. Krog charged like a monster. The fight was brutal. Fists, claws, fire. Leo's suit tore. Krog's arm burned, but neither gave up. I will crush you, Krog shouted. Leo grabbed a broken cable and drove it into Krog's chest. Sparks flew. You already did, Leo said. Now it's our turn. Krog dropped. The tower shook. Outside, Raven gave the order. Lighted up. The entire Black Division. Pressed the final button. Explosions rocked the core world. The command tower collapsed. The defense grid failed, and then silence. One by one, War Beast ships stopped firing. Some ran. Some surrendered. Most just gave up. The war was over. The Black Division had done what no army ever could. They had broken the monsters, not with numbers, not with power, but with something stronger. Will. Later, as the division stood in the ruins of the command tower, Raven looked at Leo. It's done, she said. Leo looked at the stars. Quiet. We lost so much, he said. But we won, Blade added. No, Leo said. We survived. Now, we rebuild. Ghost nodded. What do we do with the ones who surrendered? Leo thought for a moment. Let them live. Let them remember. And so they did. Across the galaxy, humans rose from ashes. They rebuilt homes, healed wounds, planted flags. The story of the Black Division spread to every corner of space. A small team, a broken people, a fire that could not be killed. And the message was clear. You can break our bones, you can burn our cities, but if you push us too far, we become something else, something you should never have woken up. We are human. Remember that.